So array power. This, I didn't do a good graph because I didn't use I played with PowerPoint graphs, so this is what we've got. If we look at a typical race on a regular array race, if you start sunning at 6 in the morning before you start driving, what do you do with the array in the morning though? You don't leave it flat on the car, you have guys standing there doing what? Carefully pointing it diligently straight at the sun. Of course that was nice about the last car a little bit, that's why you want an array stand to do that. And the power might come out about 2 amps, might go up to about 6 amps by 7 o'clock, then you start running the race. Of course, this graph shows it angling down to 8 o'clock, but it didn't really angle down. If you put the array down flat and start running at 8, it does what? Drops off. So maybe you're really at 2 amps, but this PowerPoint thing didn't do it nice for me. I didn't have time to fiddle with this one and figure out how to do it. Should have been a quick drop off, though. This should have dropped straight off down there and then started coming up like this approximately as the sun comes up. And as the sun comes up, the biggest factor is sort of a cosine factor. When it's horizontal, you've got a 0-degree angle, no power. And it's a cosine factor as you come up to 90 degrees, then you're going to have full power of the array. You also have other effects. Early in the morning, you're going through more of the atmosphere. You get scattering of blue light more than red light coming in. So especially if you have triple junction cells, it requires some of that blue light coming in. It's a little tougher in the morning for them even. But this is the general shape you'll have. So this is the power you have coming in during the day. Of course, this power at the beginning is all charged. You're not driving it. And this power is, if you're taking less power over here in the middle of the day, more power than you're actually using, you can actually charge it. At the end of the day, when you stop, you're pure charging. Yep.
Does it, like the location relative to Earth, like your position, say down in Texas, is different from Michigan?
And we saw probably maybe a 20% increase in power. We saw down in Texas than we saw up here for the same array. It's hard to completely normalize that, but I'm looking at about 20% maybe difference during the summer when we went down there during one race for it. We were actually on the array generating 19 amps, almost 20 amps a couple times, so we couldn't do that, anything like that around here. Here's some of the things you were asking about. Date, you want to know the date and time of day, because from that you can predict what? Where the sun is. You want to know latitude and longitude, where you are. That also helps you predict how high it is in the sky and what pieces you have. Elevation. When we were up in the mountains, when we went through the Rocky Mountains, everybody seemed to see a significant difference. 10%, maybe 5%, something like that as we got to a higher elevation and better performance on it. Temperature. We can show you the solar cell temperature response. As temperature goes up, solar cell efficiency, does electronics work better at high temperature or low temperature? Low. So you got ambient temperature. But when you're driving, the temperature goes up, your ambient temperature goes up, your efficiency will go down. Now when you're driving an array, that's all black. When you're moving, then the array is what? Well, it's at ambient temperature, even though it's black and absorbs a lot more heat. If you have a 20% efficiency solar cell, the power coming in, if it's all black and isn't reflecting much light, maybe you're reflecting 20% of the light. Where's that other 60% of the solar energy going then? Heat. So if you're moving, all that's gone because the air rushing over it keeps it at ambient temperature. When you stop, the temperature can do what though? Go way up. So what do? Well, we have people with little heat guns checking the temperature and walking around with distilled water and cooling the array, trying to keep it cool because it will make a significant amount when you stop. Doesn't make much difference in the morning and evening, but if you're stopping around noon, it's pretty critical. Cloud cover. So if the cloud is in there, it's going to interfere. You have to know if you know what the cloud cover is, you can go back to this. All those things modify that energy curve. So you have a model for the car. This model is just based on the angle to the sun. But it all gets modified by these pieces in a model. Direction of the car, your car might not be the same efficient. Trees. Damage to the array, oh no. This one's going to be a lot more subject. One cell goes out on this one and your whole energy output's going to go significantly down. because we don't have nearly as many bypass diodes, and we have fewer strings. So damage in this car will greatly reduce overall power. Dust on the array, get some dust on it. So people dust it off, keep it clean, because that reduces it. Those are some of the factors in there, but that's the kind of thing, some of those are things you put into models. Performance, kinetic energy, coast down. We already mentioned zero loss. That's what a driver should do. Coast down and slow down. We talked about hill driving as well. Regen's about a 15% loss. Where do you get the losses from? Well, you've got losses because you got to go through the motor, highly efficient motors, but still you have a few percent loss in the motor. Go to the controller. We've got probably some of the most efficient controllers in the world, but you're still going to have 3% loss on them. Go to the battery. They're lithium-ion batteries, lithium-polymer batteries. Pretty efficient, but there's still some loss of putting power in and getting it back out. Then you have to go back through the controller and back to the motor to get it back. Time for ginger tea. So I estimate when you do regen, you probably lose about 15% of your kinetic energy by routing in and out. Of course, when you brake, it's 100% loss in heat. Elevation changes also are kinetic energy. So if you have a map of the route carefully done, you can include elevations in there as well. You also include stops. Every place you stop, you can model how much energy I think we're going to lose at this stop as you're doing it. Okay, performance, maintenance, on-road repairs, kill you. Many times, the best cars don't win if they have breakdowns. Because, losing an hour, 2 hours doing a repair that on the road is really costly, even if you are. And of course, if you have a breakdown and you're not able to charge your battery for some reason while you're doing that, because people are working on things, it's even worse. Regular maintenance at stop and overnight, you can help prevent it, but you also have to be able to inspect all parts, know what to look for. Now, to do that, to have a reliable car, where do you think most breakdowns are going to occur in a car? Time-wise. After 1,000 miles or after the first 200 miles? Before the first 200 miles? Before the first 200. So if you don't get a car done and get that 200 miles or so on it before you go to the race, you're going to do what for the first 200 miles?
Fix it.
You're going to be fixing those little things that break down on the road. And that will put you way, way back. Okay. Performance modeling strategy. Build a model that can optimize for speed, the speed to drive at. We've got that. I wrote a simple base one after the 2005 race. We did it as part of a class we actually offered that a lot of Stoller team members stood up for. And we never had a car after that was on the road we could fit the models to. It's kind of depressing. We've had senior design teams work on it that have a fairly reasonable thing that can, if you've got the inputs weather data from the National Weather Service, road data they put in and other things, it can actually predict performance and adapt to it. Collect data on the car before the race to fit the model. Get the car done, you can fit a model. We can tell you how much you should drive if you know what the weather is and the conditions are. And then you can tune that model as you go, but it gives you some idea of what you want to drive at to get the best performance. Otherwise, what are you doing? Guessing. And you're going to guess wrong. It's just the way it is, And if you're the guy in charge of strategy, you're always going to be driving faster than you should. Anyway, it's guaranteed. Get the race route data, where the stops are, where changes in elevation, other things, how long the routes are, how much energy you think you have between them. Get weather data, real time. You can do that now in most of the routes, so you can put it in the model. Validate the model. Not only build the model and get it, but then take the car out and do what? Run it and see if it works. Fix it. Because the model, the first time we run it, isn't going to be right. It's not going to be. I'll get it. But give me a little data and we can do what? Fix it. We can do it one way or the other. Use the model to direct the race and help advise it anyway. I mean, that's what you want to do. Thanks. Questions?
Yeah, we're out of time.
Okay.